I've been wanting to walk through that red line all day, and I'm not just going to do it. I'm going to lead people. Okay, so this is a hawthorn tree, and we can see it laden with all these awesome red hawthorn berries. And I'm not exactly sure what species this is, but pretty much all the hawthorns are used interchangeably, okay? And this time of year, it's generally the berries that you gather, so I will pick a few little clusters of berries. We can pass them around. Just pass them randomly around to people around you. Here you go. Pass back, pell-mell all over. One thing about hawthorns is you cannot identify a hawthorn based on its leaf shape. The leaves can vary widely. So these are like lobed, but not really all that pointy. There are some that almost look like maple leaves. There are some that are totally oval and serrated. So you can't go by leaf shape, but they'll all have thorns on them. Your western species don't have as many thorns, but if you look in the trunk, you can see the thorns sticking out of the trunk there. And in the springtime when it's in flower, so everywhere you see berries, there'd be flowers, lots of flowers. You can collect the flowers and the leaves and even the ends of the branches and the thorns. So some people like to use the flowers, the leaves and thorns. Some people like to use the berries. Some people like to mix them together. I would say for the most commercial products, what you're going to find is that the berries are going to hold on to their potency better, okay? And if you're getting like really good, super high quality leaves and flowers, that's great. But if they look like they've been sitting in bulk food jars, you know, for a really long time and they don't look really green, they've probably lost some of their oomph. So look for some really intense green in the color of the leaves and flowers when you get that. If it just kind of looks like a uniform, you can't tell what are leaves and what are flowers anymore because the color contrast isn't there, that's probably not great. And this tree is like the archetype of heart medicine, okay? So for your physical beating heart that is helping to move the blood through your body, it's one of the great herbs anywhere on the planet to use for that. And a lot of people will say again? Can you repeat what it's good for? It's a heart herb. It's a cardiotonic or a trophorestorative for the cardiovascular system. The word tonic, right, is kind of problematic because when you say tonic, you don't necessarily know what kind of tonic. It could be like a Chinese blood tonic or a yin tonic or a yang tonic, or it could be a bitter tonic like gentian, or it could be an astringent, which is often called a tonic, you know, in physiomedical literature. So they'd say like, oh, oak bark is tonic. So you can't just say tonic and be like, oh, well, oak bark and gentian and ginseng and, you know, Dong Quai are all tonics, they're all interchangeable, because that's not truth at all. So whenever you use the word tonic, you want to apply what it's a tonic for. So we could say cardiotonic, but I like the word trophorestorative. Trophorestorative is an herb that is nourishing and restorative to both the physiological structure of an organ or a system or a tissue, but also for the functioning of that. So it's more than just an astringent that's going to restore tone to the tissues. It actually helps with the function. And then the other thing that I think is a hallmark of something that you would call a trophorestorative is it's something that if you use for a while, not like a week or a couple days, but use it ongoing for a few months, you'll actually retain much of the benefit that you got from it, even if you were to stop using it. So if you were to use hawthorn for a period of month or a couple years and then stop using it, you wouldn't go right back to where you started at the beginning. It actually has a restorative action. And it is used for high blood pressure. It helps to relax tension in the peripheral blood vessels, to dilate the peripheral blood vessels, so it's easier for your heart to move the blood around the body. Now, a lot of people will think that the heart is the muscle that pumps all the blood through your veins, but really most of your circulation is through inertia, right? And you know those merry-go-rounds you play when you're a kid, or you have kids and you're playing with them? Once they get going, you just kind of have to go like this. You don't have to use expendable force like you would the first time when you start to get it going. That's like what your heart is doing. It just keeps the blood moving, keeps it moving, keeps it moving. It's not really strong enough with every beat to force that. And your whole circulatory system, for the most part, helps to pump your blood. And then it has that inertia. Hawthorn strengthens the the heartbeat itself, and it also helps to even out the rhythm of the heart. So in some cases of arrhythmia, Hawthorn is going to be helpful for that. Medically speaking, you could say it's positively enotropic and positively chronotropic, okay? But we don't need to say that. We can just say it strengthens the beat of the heart and it helps to equalize the rhythm of the heart beating. If you're using the berries, also the leaves to some extent, but especially the berries, it's also providing lots of antioxidant, anti-inflammatory flavonoids. And one of the things is you learn about heart disease, it's really important for treating heart disease, is that a lot of people have inflammatory conditions of the heart. So they go and get their blood work done and they have elevated C-reactive protein or CRP levels. That's showing you that there's inflammation in the cardiovascular system. And that's one of the bad numbers. If that's elevated, you know, I'm way more concerned about that than I would be about cholesterol, which I wouldn't be super concerned about in the spectrum of the whole thing. But with Hawthorn, it's really easy to think like, oh, it's a heart tonic and think of all these physiological things. It's also a really good emotional and spiritual heart tonic, okay? So for example, let's say that, you know, me and John have been seeing each other for some time now, and John dumps me, right? And I'm heartbroken. That was probably loud on the microphone. I'm heartbroken. And after it, I can't trust anyone, like, you know. So, you know, I meet you and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to get in a close relationship with you because my heart feels so tender. And I have this guarded energy about this, okay? Do we all know someone that's been like that or have felt like that ourselves? That's a real, it may not be physiological, but that's a real condition that I think most people have seen. And Hawthorn is good for that too. And if you look at the tree, what you see is it offers this abundance of berries and flowers and leaves and medicine, and yet it has these protective thorns on it, right? And the thorns aren't like blackberry thorns or rose thorns that are grabbing out and, you know, breaking off and sticking in your blue jeans. They just establish space. So what you have is this plant that offers this abundance to the world around it, but has this protection so that it's not easy for someone to just come in and take from it, okay? It's representing something that it does on a more etheric or energetic level of protecting the heart. And I think Deborah Francis wrote in Paul Bergner's Medical Herbalism that she had given someone a formula that had black cohosh in it and the person got a little bit broody. Black cohosh is good for broody, but can also sometimes cause broody in people that aren't broody. And what she did is she added a little bit of Hawthorn into the formula. And it was like a mood brightener, a mood lifter. For people who are inherently anxious because they're very sanguine, they're very like excess, they're kind of like hot people, they can't stand still. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone like that. They gesture with their hands a lot. This Hawthorn will have a more potent nervine effect. It'll sort of calm them down. It doesn't act like a sedative, but it just sort of soothes their excesses. So it's a really important medicine. And I've done things, you know, for these more esoteric uses. I've done things like having people just take a few drops of the tincture. So it's working more on an energetic and less on a physiological level. Or take the tincture and rub it on their heart, you know. So like in the mirror, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you know, you maybe brush your hair. Depends on the person. But you can just like do that and that actually becomes a ritual, becomes a ceremony, you know. And different people can define it in different ways. It can be a prayer, it can be an affirmation, it can be an invocation, you know, call it what you will. But it helps. It helps to set your intention for how you're going to hold your energy and whether your heart's going to be closed up like this or open. Because when the heart is closed, you feel like you're protecting yourself, but really you're cutting yourself off and you're starving that sort of emotional body that we all have. Okay? And for a little while, it makes sense. You know, when you have heartbreak, when you suffer heartbreak, your heart feels tender, you know, in your body. If you think about getting dumped, you know, you don't feel it here and you don't feel it in your knee. You're like, oh my God, that hurt. And it's a constricted feeling, okay? So this will help to open that, help that you can feel like it's safe to have your heart open and be in relationships with people and kind of be able to give of yourself too. Because we all need to do that. We're not supposed to be containers. We're supposed to be, you know, vessels that give and receive, that fill up and empty. So Hawthorn is really totally cool. Another thing you can do, If you don't want to just do tinctures, you can do a totally underutilized form of medicine is gather a bunch of berries and get some cool little medicine bag, or you can make a medicine bag, that's even better, and just wear it around your neck over your heart, okay? That's a form of medicine. That still works like that, you know? And that's really cool too. So sometimes you can do that. You can have a little selection of medicine bags. And some people may see clients or see people or work with people. You can give them this bag and it's just got more meaning and power filled up with these hawthorn berries. Maybe you can take one of the thorns and close the bag with the thorn. That's really cool to do. So that is just some of the wonderful medicine of hawthorn. We're gonna go down that way, not around again, but down that way and look at some more stuff.